Hey everybody, it's Blane Chocklett here. I have a little free time and I thought I would reach out to you all and discuss a little bit of tips and tricks that will hopefully make your time on the water more enjoyable and more productive. I want to talk about gear and gear setup for toothy critters like muskies and pike. I try to keep that part simple, from the fly to the fly line, as simple as possible. Generally, all you're going to need, especially if you're using intermediate lines or sinking lines, you're just going to need a simple connection of 40-pound fluoro to your bite wire. And that's only about 4 feet. And the reason I do that is I want to keep it simple. It slides through the guides easy, especially muskie fishing. It allows you to do figure eights. It allows you to know where your rod tip is in relation to your fly. The closer you get the fly to your rod in a figure eight, the more response you're going to get with the fly as you make turns. The farther that fly is from your rod tip, the less that fly is going to do as you try to manipulate the rod around the boat with a figure eight. So I try to keep the fly when I'm doing a figure eight with muskies to be about 18-20 inches from the fly to the rod tip, and that's one reason I use about an 18 to 20 foot wire. It also gives you plenty of time if you want to change flies and colors and whatnot, or size or stuff like that. You can use a tapered leader if you want to when you're doing floating lines, but I generally will just keep it pretty simple. 40-pound fluoro in darker water or dingy water, 30-pound fluorocarbon if it's clear water. That seems to work fine. Scientific Angler has a really cool wire that I like. It's, I think, 37 pounds or something like that, 35. So what it is, it's a 1x7 nickel titanium wire that doesn't kink, and you could do a simple overhand loop knot, 2 turns in it, and it I really like it. I've never lost fish on it. It doesn't kink after you get fish. You don't get that pigtail deal. The one reason I like it so much, it's not coated with nylon, so it makes the diameter of it much smaller. And when you have clear water or heavily pressured fish like I do here, it allows, in my opinion, it takes away from the fish noticing your wire. I've noticed it in the muskie fishing when we have drought-like conditions, super clear water. I believe 100% that it makes a difference. So, you know, just like trout fishing or whatnot, fish can notice wire, especially pressured fish. So downsizing that, and that's that 1x7 nickel titanium, and I think it's like 35 or 37 pounds. Sorry, I don't know that, but anyway, I could talk a lot about fly lines and flies and how all that will make your day enjoyable or not enjoyable on the water, because the fly line matched to the appropriate fly will make that rod work better for you. So always remember that. People are always talking about rods, reels, and flies. It's not a lot of talk about fly lines and how important that is. 3 lines that I like to use an intermediate most of the time. I use heavy sinking lines in bigger rivers and more current, or if I have to get deeper in lakes and stuff to these fish. So Scientific Angler Sonar Sink 25 is a really good line. It's an easy line to learn how to cast. It has a 25-foot sinking head, and then it has a floating running line, and it has a clear transition between that, and getting that fly line out to the rod tip on 2 false casts and having that point from that head to that running line is your target area to be able to launch that fly out there and allowing that rod to bend properly with everything. The intermediate line that I like, you can use that full intermediate. A line I like to use down here a lot, especially not too cold of temperatures up into warmer temperatures, is that their Sonar Sink 30 clear. Super great. It really handles the big flies well, and it fishes really well. Their Titan tapers and their floating lines are really good. So those are some really cool lines and certain specific times that I like to use that stuff. Another thing is selecting rods. A lot of times people are always talking about fast, and fast is good if you're not casting a lot with big flies. When you're throwing flies like this larger Game Changer here, which is a staple, about a 12, it's about 13, 14 inch fly here. Lots of movement, but if you're casting this all day long, using a super fast rod is going to be your enemy, because what happens with super fast rods is you feel that shock throughout the day. And the rod that I designed, it's going to flex more into the butt section, and it absorbs a lot of that kickover. And when you get kickover with a big fly, it's going to turn and then come back at you quick. So that also creates slack, which slack kills you in your cast. So always remember these things. But pinning the rod to cast bigger flies, pinning that rod against your forearm will also help you, especially at a younger age when you're not as strong. But I do it all the time. I don't care how big you are. Pinning that rod against your forearm to make a back cast makes you twice as strong, because you're much stronger pulling than you are pushing. So pulling that big fly through the air by pinning it through with your forearm is always going to make you much stronger and help you cast bigger flies on a more consistent basis throughout the day. Hopefully we can do this a couple more times, but I just wanted to share a few things with you while we're kind of dealing with all this coronavirus thing, and a lot of people don't have a lot of free time on their hands. But stay safe. If you ever have any questions, reach out to me on social media or whatnot. Blane Chocklett Fishing. And hope you have a really good season this year, and hope to maybe meet you one day and fish with you. Take care. Thanks.